This is Richard back at you. Guys, we got something really cool in the house. We got Rigos 91, Cyclone pickup, little V6 turbocharged. I mean, this is nice. I believe this is a one owner truck. It's a really rare truck. They only made 2,995 of these vehicles. And that's in 91. In 92, they only made three of these. If you had one of these three trucks, guys, you got something right here. Now in 2021, they're only going to make 50 of them. They're going to be a LT version, and they're going to be supercharged. So if you could get one of them and you had deep pockets, man, I'd go grab one of them up real quick, because these things are really cool. Now this is a one owner truck. He brought it all the way from Arizona for us to go through the tranny, converter, and all that type of stuff to make him a really nice unit. Now he did put a bigger turbo on it to make a lot more power, so we're going to have to upgrade to billet shafts and stuff like that, because this thing's pretty salty. So, but hey, Trent, check this thing out. This thing is cool as cool can be.
Gentleman takes care of it.
I mean, it's all original, never been messed with. Well, I tell you, if you had one of the three of the 92 models, my gosh, you could be rich someday.
Oh, you'd have gold.
Yeah, you'd have gold. Because this thing is really, really neat.
I think he's had the motor out to be rebuilt too, have it refreshened.
They did put a bigger turbo on it. They say that's a big turbo, but I mean, that's bigger, I guess. Yeah, the alternator's bigger.
But man, Coke can.
Yeah, that's a little bitty thing. But he said he put a bigger turbo on it.
Looks beautiful.
It looks really beautiful. We're excited to really get to work on this thing. So we take pride in it, that's for sure. Beautiful truck.
Looks good.
So we're going to get back here and tear his tranny apart. We got all the Transgo boost valve. We got the SK shift kits. We got the Z packs, all the clutches, bands, bushings, everything you can imagine for this truck we're going to be doing. Now we sent the converter off to B&I, the original one that he had in it, because it was an aftermarket converter and he liked it. And we're just going to have it freshened up and go through it that way, because B&I, they got it going on. So what we got here, guys, I'm going to close this door a little bit and try to knock some of the light out of here. Now this is a 4L60. This is not a 700. It is to a certain extent, but they changed and added an accumulator to soften the engagements, and they moved the forward clutch around a little bit, went to a thinner clutch and added a wave plate where the clutch runs against the steel now instead of the wave plate like a 700 did. Now, if you look here, now we don't know. You can see a big old gap here in the old governor cover. It was fixing to eject itself. You're fixing to lose that thing. So, and I've had these come off, customers bring their vehicles in and they fell off before. Now, being that this is a V6 and this is this style of tranny, it's probably going to have a special valve body, tuned governor, all that type of stuff, just being that it's a turbocharged vehicle. Because you get in here and look at this governor, these weights here are hollow, and you just don't see that.
Oh, wow, yeah.
See,
yes, sir.
Normally you have a solid plate here, and you have paddles here.
Correct.
Some of the paddles here can be thicker, thinner, different springs and all that type of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
See, you can see the old governor gears wore plumb out.
Yes, sir.
When you see wear like that, your case bushing in the back is going to be bad too. It lets the output shaft set down on the governor and put a lot of wear on it. So, but that's pretty cool.
It is cool.
I'm hoping nobody's been into this tranny and has messed with it, so we get to be the first ones to tune it and stuff like that. Because these trannies here, guys, let me tell you, this tranny here will bite you. You can build it perfectly and put it in, and if you got any type of horsepower or you're going to be RPM in this tranny, these trannies will go to soft shifting at high RPM. They're real bad about it, so you have to get in there and do some modifications to the valve body to stop that. It's hard as ever down low, but when you go to get on this thing, man, what did they do to me here? Man.
Like I was saying, it didn't look like the tranny had ever been out there. Motor possibly, but tranny looks original.
Yeah. I had that problem getting one of them out before. Now this is an aftermarket overdrive servo cover here. See if we can get on there and pull it out a little bit. Some of these aftermarket servos I just don't like. I like to do my thing with them. There we go. But looks like we got a really nice unit here. I'm not sure whose it is. But they got all different kinds of these things on the market, and which one's good, which one's bad. Man, it's hard to say, truthfully. I like the Corvette servos, and the aftermarket overdrive cover and servo works really good. Don't have no issues. You start getting into this kind of stuff like that, I just don't like it because I've seen failures, I believe, because of that stuff. So. Now this does have some type of cool pan on it. It's got the fins going through the pan and stuff to keep it cool. It's got a deep pan, holds a lot more fluid. You can see the fins, the tubes that go through there. Now to me, are these good? Man, they're only good if you got air going through them. If it's sitting there idling, they ain't helping you a bit. You know, if you had some way to build a little spoiler to kick air up towards this pan to where air can physically hit this, you could get the pan to work really good. But like I said, there's not really a lot of air underneath the car.
Correct.
There's really, people think there is, but it really goes over the car instead of under.
Cars, they're all skid plate.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no, can't even see the tranny.
No.
Can't even see the motor.
And we do have the factory filter. Pretty dirty. So you always want to pull this seal out right here. You don't want to stack this filter on top of two of these because you can break the neck right through here and you bolt the pan on.
Yes, sir.
So you don't want to do that. Now being that this is a 4L60 tranny, what they did is they added a forward accumulator right here to engagement, to soften the engagement up in drive. And we have our TV linkage here that goes up. Cable will go all the way up to the throttle body carburetor. When you give it gas, this lever moves. You give it gas, it pushes the TV valve in, raises TV pressure, firms the shifts, and stuff like that. And I can see it's got an aftermarket shift kit spring in there already.
Yes, sir.
Now, if you notice this little pin on this thing right here, that pin goes in that hole. And normally there's going to be a check ball in there, and when you give it gas, it lifts that check ball. See? Now if you leave the check ball out, it's fine. We don't ever put them back in. But if you put a check ball in there and you put a linkage on there that don't have that pin on there, you're in trouble because it will not work. Now, and they do make two different versions of this. So that's something you got to watch. Now, if you're not changing it, you're not probably going to have an issue. But when we get them in here, I'm always looking for stuff that somebody has messed up because we get them in here, we're repairing other people's problems. On every unit we do. So we have to look for that type of stuff. Now this bolt right here is a special bolt. It's always going to be gold out of every bolt here. It has a little tab that holds the tube in. And then this valve body bolts here are all the same that hold this tab in, that holds the tube down. So, but that gold one is special. Got your detent spring there. That looks like they got maybe an aftermarket, or some of the factories do come with these pretty gold ones, but that does kind of look like an aftermarket. It could be because of just the type of vehicle that it is.
Correct. You know, it's hard to say, which, you know, you're older than I am. No offense on any of that, but would that have came out factory? You know,
Oh, it could be, yeah.
Could be. Okay.
Yeah, because any high-performance vehicle from the factory is going to have some sort of type of shift kit in it.
Yes, sir. Okay.
You know, we get our, you know, these. If you get a Buick Grand National in here with a 204R, It's got a shift kit in it. I mean,
Okay.
and that's a special valve body and governor.
Gotcha.
So now we have our fourth gear pressure switch here. We have another pressure switch here. I'm not for sure exactly what that is, but some of them will have a pressure switch up here. There'll be a hole tapped here, and you'll have a pressure switch here too. Now these are all for lockup. So now when we take them off the computer and make lockup work on our own, we'll bypass all this switch here. We'll run this switch, we'll change this switch to a ground switch. In other words, when this switch comes on, it'll ground. And then we run the power wire over to this connector, and then we run a key on power wire through a relay or through a fuse. When you turn the key on, you supply power down to the tranny, and then when it gets to fourth gear, this will ground it and turn lockup on automatically. That way you don't have to have a computer to make it work. So real simple that way. If you want it to lock up in thirds, you can put one up here. So it's pretty...
Yeah. Cool stuff.
Now, anytime you get like the Buick Grand Nationals, stuff like that, the valve bodies are different. Plates are different. Everything's different. Because like I said, this tranny here is the world's worst about high RPM soft shifting. So this shift kit that we're putting in here will take care of that. Now these shift kits that you put in these, you open it up and it's going to scare you. Because I mean, there's so many springs and stuff in that kit. You really need to research it, read it really good, stuff like that, because there's so many springs that you need to replace in here, especially to have high pressure at high RPM shifts. So now this could be already corrected. I don't know, but when I get in here and pull the shift kit apart and look at this valve body, I'll see if the spring colors match and stuff like that to see if it's already got one of those SK kits in here. So. Now this is all aftermarket, your TV valve down in here, stuff like that. It's got a spring behind that valve right there. In other words, there's a valve here and a valve here and a spring in the middle. If you push the gas pedal to the floor and this little valve right here stayed forward, the next time you come to a stop, it'll never shift. It has to go back there, just like that. Now from the factory, there's no spring to push it back. It has to have oil to push it back. So if it ever sticks forward from a piece of trash after a rebuild, and you come to a stop, it'll never shift again. And if it does, it's going to be at high RPM and very firm. So that's why your shift kit gives you a spring to put in there after you rebuild it. That way that spring forces that valve to come back. See? And it's just a tiny, tiny spring that doesn't have any tension really on this valve to mess with the pressure rise or anything like that. It's just enough spring there to make it come back. And I actually take, if I get them and I don't put shift kits in them, I take wire tie wires. I got like 200 of them in there, and I'll make my own spring. I got a video out there of me doing that, and we put our own spring in there because it's got to be a really floppy spring. There can't be no tension. I mean, if not, it'll mess up your timing and stuff with your pressure TV valve and stuff here. So.
Tricks to the trade. We call that tricks to the trade.
Yeah, well, like I say, back when I started, there wasn't a whole lot of shift kits around.
Yes, sir.
So we have a manual valve linkage here. So the 4L60Es are different than the 700. The 700, the 4L60 is the same, but the E is different. So now you can see here they've done some check ball modifications, some hole modifications. You can see here where they've beat the aluminum plug in here, plugged it. Same way here. You can see one here they did. Now we do have a check ball up here. That pan. But you can see here, all the check balls are places in the case because these check balls are under the plate.
Correct.
Okay, so this one here will be in the valve body. So let's see here, they plugged this one here too. So they did a lot of modifications to this plate, guys. Now your SK kit, you can get a fully manual kit, you can get an automatic kit. So this kit here, I believe, will do both. I mean, it can make it fully manual or automatic, but it's for performance. Now we have our accumulator spring here. Now we will still, even though this is setting lower, we'll space that piston up and get that spring level with the surface here. No more than the fluid gets in here, it's going to be pushing on that spring. And then you want to check your pin hole here, make sure there's no wear. This thing isn't wobbling. If your hole's wore out here, you might as well not even put a seal on it because it's going to leak around there. So Scotch-Brite this up really good, guys, too, because when you put a new seal in there on this shiny surface, these accumulators to do this instead of just going smooth. They want to do this. So you want to Scotch-Brite that up really good. Now we have our forward accumulator here. If you notice here, we have a check ball in here. Some of these will have a check ball in them that don't have a retainer fingers that keep the check ball from falling out. Some of them you take off, the check ball falls out. You always want to put that check ball back in there, put it back in the hole, put a little bit of grease on it, put it down. Assembly lube. So
get you.
I'm telling you, it's a little stuff that gets you on trannies. We have another aluminum piston here, big hole style. Same way, check the wobble, new seal, Scotch-Brite this up really good. And we get over here to our plate. Now you notice this trough right here has no check ball in it. If you notice, they plugged. Normally, if this wasn't plugged, you would have a check ball here. Because anytime you have two open holes, it takes a check ball. So what they did is they left it out, put a plug here. You can see the check balls are still here. You have the check ball here missing. Sometimes there'll be a little aluminum nub sticking up in the middle where you can't put a check ball, and that's a sign you can't put a check ball. You want to take your filter out. There's a little filter always down in here. Your kit will come with a new one. You can see how plugged up that little filter is right there. So, but we'll look at this plate. We'll look at the kit. Make sure they did everything right to this plate. If not, get another plate and redo it. And we have our accumulator spring here. Now, being that this is the 4th gear accumulator, we're going to do our thing. We're going to chunk the spring. We're going to block it with 2 pistons. Put about 30,000 spacer in the middle, lift it up to where it's flush. We do not want the piston sticking out above this surface here. We want it flush or just a tad below. You can take your finger and grab that parking link and push it down, turn the output shaft, pops it down, move it over, and now you're a bolt appears. You can get that out of there. Makes it real easy.
So that's right.
Yep.
We'll find that.
Yeah. Now, if you ever get one of these out of nowhere, you pull in the grocery store, you come back out of the park, grocery store, get in it, and all of a sudden you can't get it out of park. The shifter moves, goes into drive, reverse, forward, and all that type of stuff, but it will not move. This little piece right here is spring loaded. See that? They're bad about this little nub wearing off right here, and when it wears off, this spring pushes this collar right here forward, or backwards actually, and locks it in park automatically.
Beyond. Yeah.
Beyond. And once it does that, there's no way to ever get it back out of park. You have to change this linkage out right here. But you can see that little nub there holds that on there. See, so we see that, they come in, locked in park, won't move. We pretty much know where to go unless the tranny's just totally obliterated or something. Get all of our check balls out of here.
One fell in
Did it? Okay.
You'll hear it.
Oops, there's another one down in there. We'll get them all out of there.
Plenty.
But my squeegee, guys, look at that. Straight as an arrow.
Yeah, someone talking about our squeegee. That
Yep.
works good.
If it ever gets wrinkly, I put it in our instant clean machine in there for about 12 minutes. Let it draw all the oils out of it, let it set down there, and I come back and that thing will be like a razor blade again. Pretty nice. I really like this. We use this a ton. I got my other one over there I like too. I just leave it on that table over there instead of just getting them all mixed up stuff. Okay. See this little capsule down in here, guys?
Yes, sir.
There's a check ball that's in this capsule right here. I don't know if this is a myth or not, but they make a repair kit for this right here. But guys, I've never had to replace one of them in my lifetime at 40 years of building trannies. And I've never had a comeback on these units because of this tube right here, ever in my life. As long as this ball is moving, when you get the case out of the parts washer, you check it with air and make sure it's clean, it's working good. Pour some solvent down in there, make sure the ball seals and it doesn't leak inside the case down in here. That thing is good. The main problem you see is if you build the tranny at home and that check ball is stuck in that tube or in that capsule right there, that's where you're going to have a problem. You clean that up, get all that type of stuff, check it for any type of leaks with some fluid on the backside, and it's good. But I swear, I've never replaced one of them. So I don't know if it's a myth or it's just something to sell. I don't know, but we don't have comebacks here. So, and I guarantee you, I've built 1 million of these.
And that's why we double insured.
Yeah, I got fluid coming
out instantly.
Yeah. See, no more than I took that bolt out, it squirted out of here. See, that little O-ring, it does work, but that's why we always put a little bit of silicone on here and double seal that. That way, it cannot leak. Because the worst thing you can do is have a leak, guys. The #1 killer of a transmission is a leak. No doubt. And sometimes heavy foot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes heavy foot. Now we do have some type of different ring here. Scarf cut. Your 4L60Es are not scarf cut. They're a solid ring. You put them on. But these 700s kits do come with these. And this could be a high pressure ring. But your physical 700 kits, they are scarf cut like that. So. Now you got your boost valve here. It looks like an aftermarket boost valve, but we're going to be putting one in there too. We're going to check it and just see if it's got wear or anything like that. So we don't want nothing to go wrong with this unit, let me tell you. Come on. Okay. Now the 700 boost valve is totally different than a 4L60E. The reverse boost pressure is built into one, and the main line pressure is built into one on a 4L60E. But on a 4L60 and a 700, you have two. You got your boost valve here, which this is a tiny one. We're going to put a big one in here.
Yeah.
That's a little one. And then you have your reverse boost valve here. Where a 4L60E, they're built as one. Okay. That's a 4-ringer. They make a 3-ringer. They make a 2-ringer. They make a 1-ringer. They just make different versions of this thing. The more rings, the bigger the see, this is your boost side, your reverse side. This is your mainline side. So that looks like. Then you got your spring. Now these do go in certain directions, so make sure you don't put in wrong, because it will go in different directions. And then you have your pressure regulator valve here. Now we'll go in here and grind the land off this center, this land here, if it's not been done, for more lubrication. So then you have your lockup valve in here. Same way with these guys, where you want to clean them up good, look at everything good. You always still want to come in here and put just a fine line of silicone around here. I mean fine too, guys. I'm not talking about squirted in there. I'm talking about a film.
You'll be able to see through
a
it.
film.
Yeah.
I mean, and you don't even have to put it around here. Just from here to here. That little place right through there. That's all. And really, it's just here and here. But I do from here to here. Just a fine film. We have a, now the pump setup we're going to put in here, it's going to have stainless rings here instead of cast iron, little cheap ones. Our stator still looks really good. Got it. That's just a stain looking. What that is there. We have a 13 vein pump rotor here. Now we can get the converter in a little farther, definitely. We're going to be spacing that and get that back in there where it needs to be.
Yes, sir.
Now they did something here that I don't like to do. I mean, I don't like brass pump bushings, especially in a 700 406E. Now Dodge diesel, stuff like that, that's cool because they got the dimples in the bushing, stuff like that for better oiling. Keeps that bushing really oiled on the converter hub. Well, these solid bushings like this, guys, like this brass one here, I just don't like them. I'd rather put a Babbitt Teflon coated, a real slimy bushing in here. That way you don't have no issues, no converter hub wear or anything like that. It's got the dual slide springs. So we put a new slide in here. So you have an O-ring in the bottom in here, then you have your metal ring here that goes on top. Now your 6L80, 6L90s is built the same way, but they have a Teflon ring. Well, it won't retrofit back to this tranny either because it's twice as thick. So you don't want to do that. And of course your slide pin here, you want to make sure it's not wore out. If you wear, replace it, and then you have your spring on the bottom. 6L80, 90, the spring's attached to the pin.
Must have had some issues to losing that spring.
I think they did. It's easy. You don't know. You just clean it, put it back together, and especially somebody at home that's trying to do it off our videos or something really needs to have that information.
Yes,
now this looks really nice here. We can get our pad on our buffer and buff this out really nice and make it look brand new. Just barely touch it. So put all new bushings and stuff in there and get that going. I like to get this band anchor pin out of here so I can pull the drum right out. Now here's your band anchor right here. It goes in the band. Then your servo comes in here on the side and works it like that. Okay.
Yep.
If you got your going down the road in first gear, your band comes on for second. Your band comes off for third, your 3/4 clutch comes on, your band comes back on for fourth. So pretty simple operation on these things. It does have a wide band in it already, looks in good shape, but we're physically going to put a different style in here with different lining. So we're going to get rid of that. Got a nice new drum looking here.
Yep.
You can tell this is a factory drum. Because the Babbitt solid looking bushings inside.
Yes, sir.
So this could have some nice alto clutches all the way through it. Got some nice reverse clutches. Got your bevel plate here. Now you can see this hole down in here doesn't have a check ball in it, where some of your later or earlier versions have a check ball. Well, this here is your check ball. So when this piston applies, this plate flattens and acts like a check ball and plugs that hole off. Same concept. Excuse me. So, yep. So they do some crazy stuff. This little bearing here, guys, you really want to check for any type of wear. I had other videos I've showed you where I've taken them apart and what they look like. So if you put a bad one in there, you can have a pump or have a whine in parking neutral. So if you get here we go. We got our 3/4 clutch cooked.
Oh, culprit.
Our load springs are weak. They're existing, but they're weak.
Oh, hey, right there, too.
Oh.
Just came out.
Yeah.
Drum's
Oh,
coming apart.
Yeah, that drum's coming
I don't know
apart.
where it went. Oh, there it is.
Oh, there it is. Yep. Look at that. So we're actually going to be putting a billet drum in this, a Sonex drum and stuff. We're waiting on it to come in Monday.
Oh, hey, your load springs was the...
Oh, they're gone.
That was just how bent they were.
Yeah, I thought it had load springs in it. It's just that's how wavy they are.
That's how wavy they are.
They're bent. That's funny.
Pretty funny.
Yeah, but it's just a 6 clutch system. We'll get that trash out of there. Get a billet Sonex drum and put in here with a nice input shaft, because him boosting this up and stuff, poor old shaft could pop pretty easy since he put that bigger turbo and stuff on there.
Sure.
Here again, we got some Alto clutches and stuff in here. Your engine brake clutch, your forward clutch. Now we don't have a, they took the wave out and put a flat steel. Normally there'd be a wave in here. Now you can get by with on this tranny in a race car application. Now if it's somebody else's daily driver or something, maybe not. Because they did, you gotta remember, they added a forward accumulator to soften the engagement, and they left the forward wave in there. So you got 2 places that's going to soften that engagement going into gear. So if you take this wave out, you still got this going to try to soften it a little bit. But for your grandma, stuff like that, it's probably not a good idea. But this is a good idea for this one. So. We don't even have 5 painted planets or nothing in this thing.
You think factory would?
Mm-hmm. That looks really nice there. A lot of times we see wear here. If you got a brass sprag thrust washer here, normally you'll see wear here. Being that it's steel, we don't really ever see any wear there. Just a single cage sprag. Starting to see some wear here. Yeah. Stuff like that. So we'll put another inner race in there. Check your outer race. If it looks good, Scotch brought that up really good. So, I thought I was going to see some pretty planets in here or something. Yeah. Now we do have a spacer here I didn't talk about that goes under that input bearing. They are selective. You can see here 68, 69. They don't give you very many variations here. Maybe 4 or 5 numbers. That's it. Other than that, you're on your own.
Oh.
Hey, we almost had one of them, you know what I'm talking about, clips. It actually went right by my ear. I felt it zing by. So, we have a factory style thrust washer hub assembly. We're going to be putting a roller bearing style in here. I haven't pulled one out yet. It's still over there in the shelf. But we do that on every one we do. We don't ever put a thrust washer back in any of our 700s, 4L60Es, any of them, ever. We trash this, get rid of it. To me, it was a bad design to start with, but they put it in there, the roller bearing style, when they added tow haul. So these trannies would take out this washer trying to tow in 4th gear. So they added that bearing in there, and then they added the tow haul button, and then they went to the B85 torque converter, the bigger torque converter, bigger clutch, all that type of stuff. So that's how they upgraded it. But they didn't upgrade the Planet. You thought they would in this little truck.
You thought, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But we will see if the customer wants to upgrade this to a 5-pinion Planet and see. He drove a long ways not to do it right, so he don't want to go home and break it. Now look at this, guys. This is pretty cool. Like I said, that's what's neat at working at this shop is we do so many high performance stuff that we get to see cool stuff every day. I mean, now we have our factory sun gear here. We replaced 90% of these too because we see wear here on the teeth either side. You have a drive and a coast side. You want to look at that. If it's good, always put a new bushing in there. Sonex does make a wide bushing you can put in there for better support on your hub here. Now the new one we're putting in is hardened here. Where this bushing always wears. You can see where it wore out right there. But you notice we have no spline wear. Now when I put a roller bearing hub in here, it's going to, in years, it's going to get spline wear, but it'll never wear here. I mean, they should have hardened the whole thing and eliminated it, but they fixed it here and ruined it here. So kind of, but this is cool. This is a different style sun gear shell here. They added, if they put something down in here, can't tell. But you notice here they These were bad about breaking in the day. This is twisting off and stuff like that. What they did is they come in here and added this little race right here. That way you don't have to put a plastic thrust washer in there anymore. You got a nice little roller bearing. Now our Sun Gear shells we got, they're hardened and stuff and used a plastic washer because we don't ever see wear right here. Now we see spline strippage and stuff like that if this breaks off, but that's already been eliminated a long time ago. We don't have that issue anymore. So to put a roller bearing there now, I don't know.
I can't, you know, I'm not trying to stop you. I can't remember. You know, you see me, I'm on the internet a lot. I don't know if Sonex makes this.
Really?
Or somebody. I'll have to throw a link up and I'll show you all
Yeah.
guys. But I just ran across that the other day of that update.
They do some pretty neat stuff. Almost. Of course, the last thing we're going to pull is our anti-clunk spring. Now, you want to look for anywhere here, anywhere here. Scotch-Brite both these areas up. Look at your ring gear on both sides. This isn't the best hub right here. We can put a better hub in there. Also, we do have a better style Planet where they added a lube cut plate to direct the oil into the Planet. You can see this little cover they put on there to really force the oil into the Planet. So,
It's cool.
pretty cool. But still, you want to check here for any wobbling on your gears or anything like that. Check this bearing here. You can take this Sun Gear and set it down on there and you can push really hard. I'm telling you, if you got a bad bearing, you can feel it. So, same way here. This is kind of crazy. They left the wave plate in your lower reverse clutch. Anytime you put these in manual low, this clutch comes on to help this sprag out right here hold up. And when you shift to second gear, this clutch has to come off and your band's going to come on. Well, if you ain't careful, this big old band will come on so fast that this clutch will still be on because it hasn't relaxed this wave plate yet. So we'll get rid of that and put a solid plate in there. That way, no more than this clutch moves, it's off. It's not having to ride the bend of the wave out to release. So, but we do have 5 clutches in here. We'll get that wave out of there. Get it all set up nice. I did notice here, this is a special inner race for the lower sprag assembly. You can see they come in here. Normally you'd have teeth here on both sides because you could flip this over and use it either direction in here. But they machined that out for this bearing and hub right here. See? So, let's see if I had one.
We got a factory.
Just a shell, yeah.
Shell. Yeah.
Oh, I guarantee I got stuff. I have to go in the trailers. But anyway,
Yes,
you can see kind of what they did. Pretty cool idea. We'll check the bearing out, check the splines. If this is nice, we'll leave it in there. So, pretty cool. But it definitely does need some load springs put back in there. So, you guys that's leaving them load springs out, you'll learn someday to put them back in there, especially when you're using wide bands against a 6 clutch pack kit, because that's when that load spring is really needed. That's why the 3/4 clutches burn out on this thing, because this big old band is still on when that 3/4 clutch is on, and it doesn't give it time for that 3/4 clutch to come off, and that big old band comes on. So we have some timing issues going on, and believe me, that big old band is going to beat up on that little 6 clutch pack 3rd gear. So that's why you've got to get that straightened out. We're going to be putting a Z-pack in here, a different wide band, but we're also going to be doing a lot of work to that valve body to make sure that stuff doesn't happen. So, excuse me. Trent, thanks for recording.
You're welcome.
Definitely, Teresa's at home sleeping, I think, or hanging out. I don't know what she's doing today. This Saturday morning here at the shop. So, y'all don't forget to subscribe, guys. We got a ton more stuff coming. We get to work on cool stuff all the time. We got the Dirty Birds block at the machine shop getting done, and man, I'm as excited on that deal. So maybe we get that back soon, get her back on the road, try to get some runs in towards the end of the season this year. Y'all stay tuned. Have a great day.